Give it some time. Give it some time before I tap in. Give it some time before I tap in, man. Give it some time before I tap in. You know, give it some time, y'all. Yeah, I know it's midday, so a lot of people may be still at work. A lot of people, may be commuting from work. But yeah, man, you know, I know my channel, I took a different direction with my channel. In the past, I was uploading a lot of pre-recorded videos that I would pre-record and, you know, edit. But now I've decided to try this live thing, right? Because I think I get more for the one thing for the YouTube algorithm. Since YouTube has shadow banned me, my channel, when I was uploading pre-recorded videos, I wasn't being seen. Can't use using Steve's. What are you talking about, bro? Can you sing using Steve's? Some effing trolls, bro. Do you have any advice on breakup relationships? Do I have any advice on breakup relationships, man? I could go into that. Just every situation is unique, you know, and it just depends on what you're going through. But that is not the topic of this video, you know. So I decided to do lives. I'm doing lives more because I like lives because sometimes, you know, when I'm driving, as you guys can see, I'm at work, but when I'm driving, sometimes, you know, at work or in my personal vehicle, I'll see something that inspires me, it inspires thought. And I'll be like, man, I want to talk about that, you know? And so when I was doing pre-recorded videos, I had to wait until, you know, either I got home or whatever to do the video. But now with this format, doing it live, I literally can see something just like I saw right now, and I can be inspired to want to talk about it. And so that's literally what happened with this subject matter. But it's something that's been ongoing, like something I've been noticing, right? So oftentimes I'll be minding my business, working, and, you know, in Southern California, there is a large Hispanic community, but all over California for that matter. But oftentimes, like right now, I'll be driving and I'll just get hostile looks from someone that appears Hispanic. Now, I'm not doing anything to I feel to upset them, that person that just gave me a hostile look, I'm not doing anything that, would cause anger in this individual. But I just saw an individual, I'm driving, and this individual just like looking at me like, damn, bro, like, are you mad that I'm just, I exist, or that I'm driving this truck, or maybe you unemployed and you look at me like, man, look at this mayate or negro, why does not this negro get to, work? I don't know, man. You know what I'm saying? But whatever it is, I said, you know what? I want to talk about this, and I want to do it in a live format. I don't want to wait until I get to my home or whatever. So if you don't know, I'm from Oakland, California. You know what I mean? I'm from Oakland, California. I used to go to this boxing gym. Shout out to King Boxing. If y'all in the Bay Area, go check out King's Boxing. That's a promo for King's Boxing, because I love my experience at King's Boxing. I love boxing. I wish I could have became a big star in the boxing, but hey, life happens. It is what it is. But I did learn a lot. I did learn the fundamentals of boxing at King's Gym in Oakland, California. So that's shout out to King's. But yeah, I'm from the Bay Area. And in the Bay Area, the relationship, since, I've been coming up, between blacks and Hispanics has been more cool, right? For example, in the Bay Area, Hispanics, usually the Mexican brothers, they usually rock with us. Like, in a sense, like they rock with us, like, for one, we go to this, we grow up in the same neighborhoods. But when I say they rock with us, you'll see them, like, I guess, take our kind of like swag a little bit. Like, when you see, I'm trying to explain it, but when you see, like, in Oakland, right, when you see a Hispanic person, a Mexican person, whatever, a Mexican guy, right, he'll have, if he grew up around brothers, if he grew up in East Oakland and West Oakland, those are like the main areas of where we at. Maybe even North Oakland. There is no South Oakland. You can get me on there. But if he grew up in those areas, he was around a lot of brothers, and when he talks, the way he dressed, the way he carries himself, it's gonna be like a brother. He even gonna have a haircut like a brother, a fade or whatever. And they rock with us. It's more of, you know what I'm saying? It's more of, I guess, brotherhood or whatever, if you can call it that. But like the Mexicans there, when I was coming up in Oakland, California, they rock with us. If they grew up in our neighborhoods, they rock with us. They was like, you know what I'm saying? They carried, they walked, they had a swag like a brother. They talked like a brother. They used, all that, dressed like brothers. Like it was more of a cohesion. And I guess it's the same thing when you go to like Texas. That's what I heard. Like if you go to like the Dallas, Texas and Houston, Texas, it's the same thing. But things started to change a little bit around like 2018, and when they started to let more of the migrants in. So now you're getting Hispanics, because Hispanics is a big umbrella, right? It's Venezuelans, it's El Salvadorians, it's Guatemalans, it's Central Americans, South Americans, all those groups now. So now you're getting these groups into the Bay Area, and a lot of these groups already come with this mindset, right? If you travel to those countries, Central America, South America, you would notice, you would see that there are black Latinos, black Hispanics, I guess you can call them, and They speak Spanish, all that. You know, you will have to travel there to see that, right? Because or be in the East Coast, like New York, because they don't really have them so much in the West Coast. But in those areas, the black Hispanics, the black Latinos are usually socially on the bottom. They're on the bottom. You know what I'm saying? Like in the media, they only show the white ones. As far as who's all in the high positions politically, it's only the white Latinos, and the black Latinos are usually in the barrios, in the ghettos. If you're in Brazil, they're in the favelas. Like, that is the dynamic. So when they come over here, they're used to that dynamic in their countries in South and Central America. So when they come over here amongst us, that's how they are viewing us. Like, oh, you know, these Negros are supposed to be on this level, and we supposed to be on this level. And that's the dynamic, right? So they come over here with that mindset. And so around, let me focus, y'all. Around 2008, they started to flood over here. They started to flood. You know, we already know what happens, right? What Trump was talking about, and basically under Biden and Kamala Harris, they opened up the floodgates. And a lot of them flocked to the Bay Area. A lot of them flocked to South LA. I mean, what am I talking about? South. You know, you can tell I'm not from here. But a lot of them flocked to Southern California, Northern California, you know, Central. A lot of them flocked there, right? You know, because why? It's a sanctuary state, sanctuary cities. And you can start to see the vibe change as far as the relationship between Hispanics. Now, if you don't know and you can't tell the difference, these are other groups. But for the most part, the brothers, the Mexicans that grew up amongst us, they still remain the same. It was these new groups that were hostile, you know. And I don't know if that's the reality of Southern California, because I think it's a whole different dynamic here in Southern California. And I only been here less than a year, right? But I'm noticing that across all groups of Hispanics, there's a hostility. Now, this don't apply to all Hispanics. Like, there's no one size fits all. We all know that there are exceptions to the rules. There are cool Hispanic brothers and sisters, but is it the norm? Is it the norm? In my opinion, I don't think so. In my experience, I don't think so. A part of that out here in Southern California is you got that gang culture. You got a gang culture that we don't really have. Like, we have it in Northern California, but more specifically, I'm talking about the Bay Area, because it's funny. In the Bay Area, like in Oakland and surrounding areas, Richmond, Berkeley, Hayward, San Leandro, Frisco, there is really there ain't no Bloods and Crips out there. The Bloods and Crips were not allowed to establish themselves out there in Oakland. You can look up the history of that. Like, but they did have, you know, the Norteños out there. Northern, that stands for Norteños, and I think it's other groups. But even in those relationships with the Norteños and us, it wasn't real static. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, it was more of a, all right, you know, they doing their thing. If we rocking with each other, we rocking with each other. But in Oakland, it wasn't like that, right? It wasn't like this hostility that I see out here, because from what I see out here is that out here they have certain Hispanic gangs that, from what I hear, that don't like black people, period. I think it's a history of it. Like, there's certain Hispanic gangs out here that don't like black people, that are prejudiced towards black people, that even target black people just because they're black, right? And that, that is the reality. You know what I'm saying? And I'm starting to feel that, like, that hostility for just being who you are. It's crazy. You know what I'm saying? But it's not. But we all understand the main culprit of that. The main culprit of that is them folks, the dominant society. But I guess a lack of knowledge too can be attributed to that. Because when you realize that we all have a common adversary, we all have the same common adversary that's trying to keep us in a certain status socially, in a certain status economically, and this common adversary is using the division of us to stay in power, because the dominant society, the dominant group, don't have the numbers. And we keep seeing news reports and all this stuff of their birth rates have been and are declining. They're not producing their replacements. And so their population is getting older, while all non-people of the dominant society, all non-whites, are consistently growing. So if we just take all non-white groups, numerically, all oppressed groups, we have more numbers. But how do they keep, even though we have the numbers, how do they keep their power? It's the division. It's the division that has been created and that's festered to keep them in power. That division is what keeps them in power, because they know if we were to come together, and I don't see it happening. I don't see it happening in my lifetime. But they know if we were to come together and realize our real adversary and how they're trying to keep us divided and in this level for a reason, so they can keep and maintain their power, it'll be over. Now, I was in the gym, and like I said, this is not to all my Hispanic people, right? There are cool Hispanic people. We know that. But we got to speak in generalities, because most all things are done in generalities, right? When we go see a doctor, they have a general autonomy of the human body that they operate off of. So when they see an anomaly, right, then they deal with it differently. But they go off a general physiology and biology of the human body. So when I'm speaking in general, I'm speaking of something that is more normal than abnormal. And what's more normal is the hostility. I mean, the hostility it's real, Can't deny it. It is what it is. Let me do this, y'all. I'm backing up. So y'all still watching? I appreciate it. But this is my question, man. Like, why? Yeah, I was in the gym the other day, and I was in the gym, and Hispanic brother came. We kind of, he seen how I work out. He see what I do, and he see that I like to get knowledge, right? So he came up to me. He said, "Yeah, I noticed you doing this one day." I said, "Yeah, this is And he said, "Yeah, usually people don't do that, the pull-ups like you do them, like from the back, because such and such. But when I was in the joint, I did them like that because I think it brings out your wings, your flies, your lats." And so he was like, "Yeah, I see you doing that." And from that point, we kind of just remained cool. But on this particular day, he seen me jump roping. He seen me with my jump rope, and me doing the jump ropes in between my sets. And so he was like, "Oh yeah, I used to do that." He came up to me like, "Yeah, I used to do that too." But I'm looking at the this jump rope that has a weight to it. And I was like, "Yeah, that's called the weighted jump rope." And he's like, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "Yeah, I was like, "It's called the weighted jump rope." And he's like, "Yeah, they're expensive." I'm like, "No, they're not expensive, man." He's like, "Look," so he goes to get his phone, I guess, to show me one that he's been looking at. I'm back in the trailer in, as y'all can see. I'm back in the trailer in, as y'all can see. Smooth like a baby's behind. See how smooth that was? Like a baby's behind, baby. Like a baby's behind. That's how you gotta do your backing. You gotta be smooth like a baby's behind. And then you do one pull up, and one back. Just like that. And you in there. You in there. If y'all need any training on how to back, come see me. I can train y'all. For a fee, of course. For a fee. But yeah, he came. So he's like, "Lo, let me show you what I looked online for." And he's like, "It's expensive." So he brought me his phone and he showed me what he was looking at. And I'm like, "Oh man, you're paying for the brand." I'm like, "You're paying for the brand name. You're not the rope." And I'm trying to explain to him, I'm like, the rope is a weighted rope on Amazon, should run you like $20 to $30. Not no, I think he showed me something for like, it was like $200, $300. I'm like, "Yeah." I said, that's you're paying for the brand. And he's like, "Yeah, you're right." He didn't realize that, right? But he's like, "Yeah, you're right." With that whole, you seen that China, everybody's hearing about that China thing on TikTok and how, viral it is. But I've been knowing this, right? Because I pay attention. I've been knowing this as someone that's traveled the world, as someone that has, that reads a lot, a lot of things on the economy and stuff like that, and business. Going to school for business, getting my education in business. So I knew that these corporations, I've always knew that these corporations are getting their products produced in, places like China, in places like Vietnam, in places like, Cambodia, and all these Southeast Asian countries. I've known that for a while. As a matter of fact, when I went to teach English overseas in Vietnam at one point, I was looking into those opportunities, right? But he was like, yeah, I've been seeing. He's like, yeah, you're right, because on on TikToks you see how China has been you know it's been showing how much stuff really costs. He was like, yeah, it's messed up. I'm like, yeah, see, but the point of it, the point that I'm trying to make, as he was talking about that, and I was explaining to him like, yeah, who really controls the world and how they trick us and how they trick us with this division and all this stuff to keep us divided so they can stay in power. And he was sitting there like, because this information, I assume that I'm exposing to him. He probably wasn't up on that information, right? So I'm exposing this to him, and he's like, he's just sitting there listening, and I'm like, yeah, we don't realize, and I didn't want to get too complex with it, you know what I'm saying, because we in the gym, but I try to keep it short, like, yeah, they don't realize, they keep us divided. So who's they? The small group that controls this world. The conspiracy theorists call them Illuminati, the elite families, whatever. But these individuals, there's a small group of the international bankers. There's a small group of individuals that collectively control the world, control the flow of money, control control politicians, control economies. Like this small group, and I'm saying that a part of the fact that they're a small group and they're able to do this is by keeping us divided. But we don't realize a lot of us are kept not to realize that because we don't seek knowledge. And so he walked away with something on his mind, but he realized, I'm pretty sure maybe he went home and thought about it, what I said, but if the Hispanic community worldwide, or particularly here in Southern California, were able to really understand the plot that's going on, the plot to keep the division so that a small minority can remain in power, because they like to call us minorities, but we're not really minorities. They are the minorities, we are the majority. And they're becoming more of a minority because of their own women and men mixing with the so-called minorities and producing children. Whenever a person from that side mixes with a person from the black community, the offspring is going to be black. So they know what they want, and it's deep. It's deeper than that, because the group over them that controls all of us, they are the ones that are the gatekeepers. They are the ones that they want to stay, and they want them to be the gatekeepers. They want them to be the quote unquote superior race, and all of us are supposed to be under them. That's the way that the ones that control it, that's the dynamic that they want to keep, because it works for them. This dynamic works. But if we just deal with us, the so-called, they like to call us the black and the brown, if this community were to get knowledge and come together, we don't all have to be holding hands and be kumbaya and all this stuff. We can still have our own cultures and whatnot, We can still have our own things that we like to do that's particular to us. But if we operate it in a way to where we can do business together, we can have more cohesion and work towards a common goal, they power was slowly topple. But the goal is to keep us divided. That's the goal. And I'm just saying to my Hispanic brothers and sisters of Southern California, you must realize we are not your enemies. We are only reacting. We only react to hostility, right? We are only reacting to the hostility when we react. But if you think that by you operating the way you operating, that is going to get you closer to whiteness, you have been fooled. You are being fooled. They will never accept you. We can see that right now. They will never accept you. So we are being fooled into thinking like this. You know, we are being fooled into thinking that they are going to accept us. Are they going to accept you the wider that you feel that you become or associate with them? They will never accept you because they feel that they got to be the superior race. They have to be the dominant race, and everybody else has to be under them. So self-knowledge is the only way to change that. Self-knowledge is the only way to change that mindset. That's all I'm saying. There's no reason for y'all to be hostile to us because we all have a common adversary. We all have one common adversary. And the hostility that y'all have towards us is out of ignorance. It's out of ignorance. You may feel that we are your competition, but listen, if you know the history, if they teach you the history, if you learn the history, my ancestors who were enslaved here built the wealth of this country. And we've been done all type of injustices. We have been done all type of wrongs, Jim Crow, segregation, all these things, lynchings, burning of our whole communities like Tulsa, Oklahoma. We've been done all these injustices, but we haven't been paid. We haven't been compensated for that. So we are owed something here. We don't have a home country that we can go to, right? Our situation is very unique because a foreign-born black, whether it's the first generation, second generation, or third generation, knows they have a home country that they can identify with. All other groups, even Chinese Americans, Filipino Americans, Mexican Americans, Venezuelan, all these other groups know they have a home country that they can identify with. We are the only group of people that don't, because that has been wiped away from us. We've been here for over 400 years, and whatever home country that we think we may have come from, we don't know. We can go do this DNA test, but they'll say, okay, a part of you, 10% is from West Africa, 15% is from Central Africa, and on. But we can't tie specifically to one landmass in Africa. We can say we are descendants of Africa, but we don't know exactly where we come from in Africa. So this is our home country, because this is all we know for generations. hundreds of years, over 400 years. So I say that to say we have a unique situation here because we are literally outside of the Native American. We are the indigenous Americans. We are the true Americans. And some of us do come from that lineage. Some of us do have indigenous blood in us because they mixed. During enslavement, they mixed. And some of them became a part of the tribes of the indigenous peoples. So I'm saying all that to say it's no reason for y'all to have this hostility towards us. We are not your adversaries. But if you aggress on us, then we react. Because we're not just going to lay down and sit and let someone just, physically harm us without a response, right? We're going to respond as any human being would respond if they're aggressed upon physically, right? But you must realize through knowledge, because that's the only way you're going to come to understanding. Just like I was speaking with my Hispanic brother in the gym, and I'm imparting knowledge on him. Now, whatever he chooses to do with it, that's up to him. Whether he says, I want to know more about this, and he starts to go research himself, or he just leaves it there. But that's where it starts, because knowledge really awakens you to certain truths. Even in my own journey of self-knowledge, I went through my various stages. When I started to realize that the knowledge of, in particular, Black Americans, foundational Black Americans, the knowledge of us has been stripped from us. It has been stripped of us of who we really are through this enslavement process, through when it was illegal for us to even read a book, to even read the Bible until they did what they needed to do with it, right? So when I was indoctrinated, as we all are, and when I started on that journey of self-knowledge, not what they teach us in school, but going and actually reading and going to the library and getting certain books and listening to certain lecturers and scholars, my knowledge started to awaken, and I went through a phase of, at first, anger. I was angry. I had a lot of anger in the beginning of my journey of self-knowledge, in my immaturity. And I was radicalized to a certain extent. But as I started to grow in that knowledge, I started to have just an understanding, a deeper understanding. It's deeper than that, And I understand a lot of my Hispanic brothers and sisters, especially the ones that just come here, don't really speak English, so they don't feel like they need to speak English. But because they have a whole community set up for them. But it's important to get these literatures and get access to this information so you can wake yourselves up and realize who is the real adversary of us. Why did you flee your country? Why are you here in the United States of America, or you had to come to the United States of America and you couldn't stay in your country? Who created those conditions in your country to where you had to flee? Do you realize that? That's the real adversary, not us. We didn't cause you to flee your country and come here for what you think is the American dream that don't exist, that is just a dream. It's only meant for a certain select few. not for us. So with that being said, I'm tapping out. I got to go do what I got to do. The work still must be done. Peace.